Welcome everyone, it's Michael DeHaan from Care to Grow. I've got Christine Stow with me today, so thank you Christine for being a part of the Women's Empowerment series, really around connecting with women around Australia that use their voice and visibility. So thank you for sharing, I suppose, your wisdom, your stories on this show, so I appreciate that. Welcome.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here.
I'm really excited to hear some of your stories. Just want to share with Christine, we probably met a few months ago, and since then we've just been crossing paths, so on a number of different occasions. So we're sort of meant to, I suppose, work together in regard to some of her beliefs and passions, which are quite similar to mine. Just want to do a brief introduction, and then we'll get into some of the stories and whatnot. So it's what I find really interesting is did a bit of stalking on you. And Christine's the founder of Empowered Women in Business. And what really resonated with me is about finding voice and stepping into your power. I think that's just so important. It really resonates with what this series is all about. I love your tagline on LinkedIn, which is ignite your passion, live on purpose. It just creates that energy, and thank you for that. And you're also a co-author of the Empowered Women's Way, among other things. You're a corporate mindset transformationalist. I practiced that a few times before before we came on. So, and you do a number of different things. So I'm very grateful for what you're doing. And as I said, seems to be a lot of work around empowering women in regard to your career and what you're doing. So again, thank you.
Yeah.
What I'd like to do is get to know you a bit more personally. So it'd be just great to share a bit about yourself. That'd be fantastic, Christine.
Okay, so where do I begin? So I was on a corporate journey. I was National Technical Advisor for a medical supply company. So I was flying all around the world advising doctors and anaesthetists. Got to where I really wanted to go in the corporate world. I'd gone from lab tech, working in forensic science, testing drugs and blood alcohol, and moved into sales and was in medical sales. And I remember swanning around in Cairns on a yacht, and this was all part of my work. It was great. And then I had my second daughter, so I had 2 children, white picket fence, we're renovating a house, and found out there was something wrong with my second daughter.
Okay.
So I still get emotional talking about that.
Yeah.
And it was, the bottom fell out of my world then. I couldn't go back to that life that I created. And life changed. Then it was a journey of disability, and it was, I didn't belong in that world. Time went on a bit, and I totally lost my identity. So for women in corporate, I think, that's something that they often relate to. You lose your identity, you come up against a challenge, you can't go back to where you were.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to get back into work. I wanted to some way get back into work, so I took some roles in local hospital, and then I took a role as a regional coordinator for the Disability Network. From there, some people asked me to stand in the state election. So when you talk about finding your voice and having your voice, I stood in the state election, and it was a campaign, that preceded National Disability Insurance Scheme. Right. So NDIS is the support system for people with disability. So my daughter has a muscle condition. She doesn't walk or talk now, and she's 20 now, so she still doesn't walk or talk. So I got to stand in the state election, and we were talking about what NDIS looks like today, and that's supporting the person with a disability to be the best that they could be. Yeah. And I didn't get elected, but we had our voice heard, and roll on, NDIS came out. So fast forward a couple of years, and my now ex-husband left, and I was seeing a councillor, just to check that I was okay. It's a bit down, it was a bit of a roller coaster.
For sure.
And the councillor, I was at a stage where I felt okay, and I wanted to get back into work because I knew that working would be good for my welfare. Yeah. Getting welfare is not actually a welfare fair. It's not actually, but getting into work, I knew that would be good for me. Yeah. And I said to the councillor, I want to get back into work. I thought she'd be like, yeah, that's great, I'll help you to do that. And she said, you can't go back to work, you're a carer. And I was like, okay, thanks. And I walked out of her office that day and I thought to myself, I'm going to find somebody who can help me find a way, not somebody who tells me that I can't.
Yeah. Wow.
So that was when I set out on my quest to find a way to get into work, and I did. I got 1 day a week job, and I realized that looking around at people around me, I was like, oh, wow, it's not about the money, it's about being with people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So from there, got back into work, and again, some people asked me to stand in the local council election and get involved in politics. And I did that, and I ended up getting elected. So
Yeah.
here I am, single mother with a child that requires 24/7 care. And it's like, what am I going to do? How am I going to do this? But I'd gone through it in my mind that I would do whatever it took. And this was pre NDIS, it'd be a lot different now.
Yeah.
Went through in my mind, I would do whatever it took to take my seat at the table because all those people had voted for me.
Wow.
So if there's ever a time, to have your voice heard, I was sitting at the table. Now, prior to standing in state election and the local council election, I'd stood on the steps of Parliament, written to MPs, I'd met with MPs, hadn't got to gluing my hands on the road or anything like that. But sitting at the table at council, I think this is where we need to be to have our voices heard, to be sitting beside people in government, because this is where the decisions are made. And when I got onto local council, I was able to get a special school established and a cafe for people with disabilities to run. And that was because I was sitting at the table where the decisions are made. So
Yeah.
if there's ever a story about having your voice being heard, I think
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
pretty clear. So after council, I mapped out, because I'd set up support groups for carers, domestic violence victims, the cafe, the school. I was able to see how grants get given to people. So I wrote a little program called Grants Made Easy. So I've mapped out how people can get grants and get their projects going. And what I found was, in the last 3 years, I've been talking to over 150 women, and they have fabulous projects, support groups. One was wanted to set up a kitchen for Indigenous people to use Indigenous products, domestic violence apps, supports, all those things that women came to me and they didn't know how to get it started.
Yeah.
So I wrote this little program,
Yeah.
and that's going live automated at the end of this week. So that's to help them be able to map out what they need to do to get a grant.
Yeah.
But I think that, my tagline, or what I've always come back to, I wanted to get into work, but as a full-time carer. So I can find a way. How can I find a way? So map out what I wanted to get to and find a way to get there. So with the Grants Made Easy, it's my vision that I can help more women get these things off the ground. And I think with some of your other speakers, I heard one of them say that a couple of them, Tamika, spoke about that we feel a lot of guilt. As women, we feel a lot of guilt from our past, and we don't believe in ourselves. And that's what I found. We don't believe in ourselves, and we have a lot of value. So I want to help women realize their value and step into it, realize what they really have to offer, and get those projects off the ground, because that'd be so exciting for the community. So, getting the grant and then helping them map it out and step into it. So empowering them to take back their power.
Yeah.
To be who they need to be. And over this last couple of weeks, I've just undertaken a program, and it's called The Land of Plenty. And that's been amazing. And that's just looking at what you can create without your filters, without your guilt, without your limiting beliefs. And it's just been an amazing transformation of what we can create if we throw away all the things that are holding us back.
Thank you for sharing that. And what I see a lot is, as well, like women in particular, they suppress their feelings and their beliefs. So again, that strong voice. But I really wanted to share an appreciation for sharing a bit about you, your vulnerability, and just your purpose and your why. And like that, that was quite exciting to actually have that real focus and to go down that pathway and no one was going to stop you because it was so
Yeah.
important to have your voice.
Well,
So,
and it's to map it out and say, this is what I want to do. I mean, and, I got to write my book. I co-collaborated with Empowered Women's Way, but also write my own book on my journey about my story with Imogen. And one of the projects that I want to do going forward is to get a group of carers together to share their story and produce a book.
yeah, wow. That'd be great, actually. Good
Yeah.
work. Good work. So what I'd like to, I suppose, just go down a bit of a pathway with you around how you've used your voice and visibility. You shared something, before we went online, but very much in regard to you've had leadership roles and responsibility and probably dealt in sort of male-dominated industries. But I'd like you just to maybe share, one or two stories around that. Again, it's always great for women to actually listen, younger women to listen to what you've been through, and you've already shared a lot with us, but in the sort of workplace and how you overcame some things there. So have you got any stories you'd like to share around that?
I've got plenty of stories. You could make a whole series, but one of the stories that I had was studied science. I worked in forensic science, and then I went into a recycling plant where it was a really blokey atmosphere. And here I was, the head scientist, testing the products, and they had to get the okay from me before they were able to let these products go, before they're able to recycle these solvents. And they were really, blokey guys, in the fluoros and all that. And here I came along, come out and tell them, whether they could do their stuff with the products or not. And they were like, here's she, what does she think she is? But I just interacted with them and treated them as equals or treated them with respect. And at the end of the day, I had the meeting out of my hand. Oh, we've got to get Christine down here. Yeah, see what she says,
Wow.
And they did anything that I asked them to do. And I didn't have to be that, a male, I didn't have to be in that sort of maleness. I was just being a woman. And I found that being a female and, coming from the heart,
Yeah.
and guys respond to that. We don't have to be a bloke. We can get what we want by being us and being authentic and being true. It's amazing what you can get to, but those guys were amazing.
And what I heard and what you said initially was that respect. So it came from a place of respect. And
Yeah.
I would say I know a lot of male leaders, and it's not necessarily out of respect. Let's get things done. That's how we do it. It's very transactional, where I can just imagine your leadership style, one that's sort of caring. Let's still get the results, but do it in an authentic way and treat people with respect, which people want to work in that environment. So again, I thought that was a great advice. So I appreciate that.
I also have another story. When I was on council, it was a very acrimonious council, very tough political lines. And when I got there, I looked around, like I thought it was like 50-50. When I got there, it was like 3 out of 11. I was like, oh, okay, there's only 3 of us women. And then, went along, and there was this motion that we were voting on to develop a parcel of land. And we lined up on gender lines, and the guys are all going, yeah, we'll just go in, we'll just mow everything down and build it bigger and bigger. And us 3 women kind of went, hang on a minute, what about the community? What about the people? And that's when I really realized that women need to be where those decisions are being made, whether that's in government or, in corporations.
Yes.
We need to be there for that balance.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
Mm.
So I'm going to ask a question. So a younger woman, Christine, a 25-year-old Christine, what advice would you give her? What would you give her in regard to her career, getting the best out of herself, living her best life?
You have value. You have enormous of value as you are. You're perfect, perfectly imperfect, and go out and know that you've got it. Don't hold back. Don't let the limiting beliefs stop you from doing what you can really create, because you have the power. And to stand in your woman power, to be who you need to be. I think that we often, what I saw with grants is we often undervalue ourselves. Like men will go out and go, yeah, I can do that. Whereas women go, oh, do you think I can do that? I want to see them all step up and do it,
Yes, yes.
because we can create amazing things.
Wow. Thank you for sharing. I totally agree as well. It's that worthiness, and women are very worthy. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
We've got gold.
I'm going to put you on the spot a bit, but I didn't run this past you. But if there's some young women out there that would like to get in contact with you, or just learn a bit more about what you do, or even, I suppose, share their story and get some further guidance from you, would that be something you consider?
Absolutely, I'm happy to share, and I'd love to share the Land of Plenty process with them to, look at what they can create and then step in. So certainly they can contact me through the website, and I'd offer a free consultation, to go through what they want to create and what they want to get out of the world.
I really appreciate that. So again, I put you on the spot, and I knew the answer. You're very giving, and I'm really interested to find out more about the Land of Plenty, because I talk with a lot of women, and that's just something there that they can sort of lift their spirit and actually make, as you said, a dream a reality. So thank you for the work you're doing.
I'd love to talk to you women. Let's get them going.
And thank you for being a part of the series. I always learn something different when I speak with amazing women, and I'm just so grateful for you being a part of this series. So thank you. And as I said, I'll share this out there with younger women, and again, you'll no doubt get some contact from you, but there's a lot to learn. So I'm grateful for your time.
No, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
All the best.